Everybody. I don't have my normal intro music where it says coffee hour. I am broadcasting live from Encore Wire. So, welcome to everybody that's joining us or will join us on today's little presentation. For those that aren't familiar, my name is Paul Abernathy, and I am the host of Coffee Hour. And today we have a real special treat because I'm going to be presenting to you Encore Wire, and we're going to be looking at some of the functions that we have here at Encore Wire's codes and standards. And we'll look at some of the product aspects and things like that. But I'm excited to have you join me for this webinar, this little coffee hour presentation. So hopefully you are joining me and everything's okay and you can hear me okay. Again, it's the first time I've ever done this. And of course, I don't have a green screen, so you got to be stuck with this virtual thing. But we'll go on and get into what we're talking about. So if you're not familiar with Coffee Hour and you haven't listened to it before, remember you can always go over to our website, electricalcodeacademy.com, and you can listen there. You can also go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/master the NEC. You can listen there. We have a bunch of different coffee hours on all different types of topics. But today we're going to be talking Encore Wire Corporation. And I'm not going to go so deep in it, but I will tell you, I've been with Encore since 2014. Previously, I was with NEMA. So we came out to McKinney, Texas, and it's if you've never been to a wire and cable manufacturer before, and again, most wire and cable manufacturers are fragmented. In other words, they have satellite locations all over the country, and they don't do everything in one location. Here at Encore Wire, we do everything here at one location in McKinney, Texas, right? So over 425 acres of property, over 2 million feet of actual work area under roof at Encore. And so it's an amazing facility. It's like Fort Knox, again, copper being what it is. But we'll look at the different aspects today in a presentation to try to give you a little bit of an understanding of what we do here at Codes and Standards. And it kind of goes across the board, probably with what other manufacturers do with their Codes and Standards division. Okay. All right. So we'll kind of look at that. And so I have a presentation that I'll share with you, and then I'll explain certain aspects of it for you. All right. So let me go on and get that presentation up. All right, so we're going and get into it. Of course, if you have any questions that you have, feel free to go on and bring them up and ask them in the chat. I'm more than happy to try to answer any questions I can on it and give you kind of some insight. So again, if you're new, again, it's kind of an impromptu coffee hour. Usually I give you a little more time than this, but figured we would do a little something here on a Monday, get you all pumped up and show you a little bit about what Encore Wire is all about. And of course, if you want to find out more about the products that they have here at Encore Wire, then of course you can go to encorewire.com as well. All right, so let's go on and see what we've got going on. So as you can see, my picture is kind of in the way. let's see. So let me go on and bring me back because I have a feeling that the audio was not there, and it's going to be an issue with my pop-up screen. I'm learning this new streaming system, so I don't even know if audio came through. So again, I serve on Code Panel 5 and 17, and created the CMECP program, and also a CMI. Co-author of some books with Phil Simmons. I only did 2 chapters in each of those books, residential, commercial, and grounding and bonding for the previous cycle. I did not do anything. I wasn't the principal author of any of that. So, yeah, should hear me now. Again, I forgot and turned off the audio part of that. So, my bad. So let me go on and stop sharing real quick and go on and make sure that I click the right buttons that I'm supposed to when I'm sharing my audio. Okay, just so everybody can actually still hear my audio. My bad there. Okay. All right, so I'm not sure what will be blocked by my little picture down here, but at any rate, I'll keep on going. So Icc certifications, electrical inspectors, plans examiner, all that kind of stuff. Serve on various committees in FPA, NEMA, CANINA, IEI. Don't serve on any IEI committees. In fact, I'm not even a member of that anymore. ASTM, I serve on those. NACMA, kind of, I won't go into that with NACMA. Kind of well, we won't go in that. UL, serve on different committees for UL. Licensed master electrician in multiple states. Educational provider in multiple states. Was one of the subject matter experts for exam development here in Texas up until the 2020 edition of the NEC, and then I no longer help with that. And of course, I'm a founder of Electrical Code Academy Incorporated. If you want to reach me directly here at Encore Wire, then right there, it's paul.abernathy@encorewire.com. And of course, there's the phone number, and I'll turn me off just to show you the extension. But I will obviously bring me back up. So you see 1637 is my extension, right? So that should, if you need to reach me here at Encore Wire, that's how you would reach me here at Encore Wire. Okay. Of course, as always, if you want to contact us or reach out to us, again, we have a general email address. It's codes, CODES, at encorewire.com. And then there's a website if you want to reach out and get some more information on all of our products and things we have to offer. If you're using Encore Wire products, then I can tell you right now, I don't think that there's any company out there that has a more robust interactive codes and standards than we do here at Encore. So your responses are very quick. And again, my partner in this is Kevin Porter, and I'll kind of talk about him in a second. But we work very closely together in being able to resolve any issue or give any insight to anybody, any questions that people may have. So we definitely work very close together on those aspects. Okay. Kind of the work experience, again, for me, electrical code consultant all the way back in '86. Owning my own contracting business for years. Consulting, I actually first started with Eaton as their helped them create their ECC program, the ECCN type of network. And I don't know why it's ECCP. It's Encore. It's basically Eaton's certified contractor network that I helped, and I started teaching that around the country. And I worked for the city of Richmond as their engineer too, and then city of Alexandria as a code supervisor. Ended up at NEMA, National Electrical Manufacturers Association, and that's how I formed a relationship here at Encore Wire. So I ended up coming to Encore Wire from 2014 till currently serving as a manager of codes and standards at Encore Wire. Some of the committees that I serve on, again, we have different memberships and different things, obviously, in the industry. Obviously, talked about the NEC committees, but also there's other electrical committees, and many people serve on these. Those are the NFPA ones that when you join NFPA, you can elect to serve on those memberships. And so when you have the different meetings and conferences, they usually will get together. Those little groups will get together as well. So I serve on those. Obviously, some NEMA committees as well. But then, of course, UL, ASTM, things like that. We have other little committees that we serve on. We're very interactive in the industry here at Encore, and we kind of offer the insight to all of these committees to our customers, but not only our customers, but our representatives. And we have reps all over the country, and they can get you more access locally on any product needs. If you go to our website, again, which is the encorewire.com, you'll see at the top right, you can find your representative that's in your area, and they can share with you anything about where you can find our products in your local region. Right, so that's all available there as well. So check that out. Now, also with me, my partner in crime, his name is Kevin Porter. He's a supervisor of codes and standards, and he kind of oversees the daily operation of this standards aspect of what we do. So he's very involved in NEMA and the development, committee development, and things like that. Very heavily involved in that. He holds a degree in engineering and psychology. He has a master's in engineering. He serves on Code Panel 6 and 15. So he's also heavily engaged in the code making process, the code development process as well. So he works hand in hand with me in the process, and he has a long history. He's been at Encore Wire probably over close to 14 or 15 years now, somewhere in that area. So I've been with him 8. So he predates me, and he has a good understanding of Encore Wire and the concepts of our customer service aspect to the consumer. So he pretty much handles all of the issues that we might run into when it comes to standards applications, right? Now, again, the easy way to get us both here at Encore, if you're using Encore Wire products, would be to go and email us at codes, CODES, at encorewire.com. It's a easy way to be able to send us any question you might have about the products, installation, anything that might do with codes associated with our products. It's a quick way to get in touch with us. It's just simply going to emailing us at codes, CODES, at encorewire.com. It's the quickest way to get us your questions so we can get you the answer, especially if you're using Encore Wire products, that type of thing. Okay. So Kevin's work experience is very similar. You see that he starts back all the way back working with AT&T in '89 and working his way up. Interesting thing is Kevin, like me, has been an entrepreneur. He's put in that time to understand the concepts of what it takes to run a business and have a business. So it gives a unique perspective when it comes to codes and standards, because we get a lot of calls from contractors and they're owning their own business. So they have other aspects, and we can look at our products in a way that one could be cost effective for them, or maybe the right choice for their type of installation. And it kind of can keep them from going down this rabbit hole if they know how to ask the right kind of questions, and we can give them good answers to those questions. But also a good understanding of codes and standards. Again, it was codes and standards coordinator, and then elevated up to supervisor of codes and standards, where he is today. And again, like I say, the key fundamental thing for Kevin, and we work so well together, is that he really is deep into the standards, works real heavily with NEMA, serves on a lot of those committees that are writing the ANSI UL standards, okay, for non-metallic sheath cable, 719 for AC cable, UL4, UL83 for thermoplastic, UL44 for thermoset. So heavily involved in the development of those standards. Ultimately, the effort is to try to make a better standard, right? It's always the effort, is to always try to make a better standard. And so that's what the effort is. And Kevin does that for us here, and he does a great job at it. Always very pleased at what he does. Okay, codes and standards, a little bit understanding what we do as a support function. So we'll get into that. Again, I really didn't see where this picture-in-picture is going to block anything. I did not anticipate that aspect of it. So bear with me. I'm, first time I'm really using this software for something like this. So I was not aware of it. So we'll just kind of go with it and see what happens. Okay, so what is the philosophy that we bring to codes and standards? Okay, so minimize the business risks associated with electrical products. That's one of our goals is to constantly look and keep an eye on standards and how they're developed for the end user, right? Now, as far as Encore Wire is concerned, what do we do here? We try to reduce trade barriers due to industry standards. In other words, we look at the standards and we see how they're going to apply to different installation applications or even different industries. And we try to foresee that. And as you develop standards, we try to look at ways to make it more palatable for everybody involved because standards can be quite complex. So that's one of our goals is to constantly look at that. The next thing is government regulation, safety and energy standards. So we're constantly on committees looking at, we talk about voltage drop all the time, and people don't want to understand that that's an energy thing. Some people argue it's not a safety thing because it's protected by overcurrent devices. For motors, there's overloads. But since we're in this world of efficiency and everybody's trying to be efficient and save energy, then voltage drop is one of those key components that if you have motors or appliances and things that are not running within their spectrum of voltage, then they can run inefficient. And inefficiency produces heat, and there's other problems involved with that. So one of our efforts is to make sure that we look at all governmental regulations to make sure that our products, as well as other products, can all be efficient and as safe as possible to the industry. And of course, lawsuits from potential failure. Obviously, that's one of the things that Encore Wire Codes and Standards is always looking at that. I mean, things will fail. Lucky for us that we do such a good job when it comes to the wiring cable aspect of it, that's an easy component, an easier component of what we do. But again, that's just one of those things that all companies have to be aware of. And so codes and standards will constantly evaluate that and look at it and be there as the effective arm that works with our legal teams if necessary. But also, if there's a problem on a site or a job site, one of the benefits of codes and standards, at least here in Encore, is that we're not new. We're very experienced in it. So if there's an issue, we're right on top of it. Okay, so that's kind of what codes and standards does. Now, when it comes to the end user, you folks out there that use the product, okay, all of the work that we do in codes and standards is to reduce the potential of fire hazard, shock hazard, and assist in code installation compliance. So working with the AHJs, Authority Having Jurisdiction, we work very closely with the AHJs. We give our interpretation on how our products are to be used and installed. And so we offer that to all of our customers. And we like to think that everybody out there is a stakeholder in Encore, whether you're using Encore Wire or not, because I can tell you, codes and standards, we answer a lot of questions for people that might not even be our products. And so, again, we realize that we're all in this together. All of the manufacturers that produce products very similar. From a code and standards perspective, we're not looking at anybody as a competitor. Everybody has products that are out there in the industry, and we're here, and that's what's unique about codes and standards is we take out that part of it, and our goal is to make sure that we're putting products out there that are going to be safe for the consumer and that have been tested properly. Now, here at Encore Wire, we have and I can't remember the total price, $13-14 million test facility in our R&D lab. And that is where we would test products and make sure they stay compliant. Anytime we want to introduce a new product, we put it through testing. There's a process, UL DAP facility, and it's an ongoing effort to make sure that our products are, safe. They don't present a shock hazard. There's rules that you have to follow with the production of wire and cable. All of the wire and cable products have to be listed. Now, in the National Electrical Code, not everything's got to be listed, but when it comes to wire and cable, it all has to be listed. Okay, so we're very heavily involved in making sure that that stays compliant. Good morning, Oscar. Welcome to the stream. Again, impromptu stream. Sorry, kind of threw this on everybody kind of early, but thanks for joining me. All right, so that's kind of our philosophy here at Encore Wire. Okay, so the next, who are our customers? All right, so who is Encore Wire's codes and standards team really there to service internally? What is our function? One of our internal functions. We help with power system design. We get a lot of questions from engineers. People will call us as they're developing a tray system or whatever, and we'll assist them with that, give them some guidance. We work heavily with the legal team because there's in any manufacturing process, there's legal challenges, issues, patents, things like that you have to be aware of. We work in manufacturing internally. We also will answer a lot of questions internally. And that means for our production folks or people that work on the line or some of our managers out in the actual facility. We will do that and work with them in order to, one, make our products better, but two, to make sure that whatever we're putting out to the end customer is a top-notch product. And that's something that we work at very heavily. We used to say it's wire and cable. It's just wire. It's just cable. But increasingly, it's so important because of the demand that we continue to make sure that everything that you put out is the best quality that you can put out. And so working close to the manufacturers and working close with other manufacturers who might be using our products in their design, maybe data centers and whatnot, we have an internal way that we deal with that and work with them. So we work with the product managers that are out working in the plant. Application engineers call us all the time, designing systems and want advice on what's the best option. I got to remember that when you're a company like Encore and you make non-metallic sheath cable, MC cable, AC cable, tray cable, we make AC cable. If I said AC cable, we make what do we make? What else do we make? We make THHN individual conductors. We make XHHW-2 interconductors. So we make USE-2. We make PV wire. So when you make all these products, you sometimes will lose track on how they can be used, and there might be one good way to use something over another. And so that's why we work with the different application engineers and in order to be able to do that. Now, when it comes to product development, we work internally with our internal attorneys and people in R&D because you know what? Inevitably, codes and standards has a lot of ties to how a product is designed. One, we have to make sure it meets compliance with the voluntary standards like ASTM. It's a voluntary standard. But we make sure because if you don't, chances are people aren't going to use the product because engineers aren't going to spec the product. And so we work closely with that in the development of all that. So that's kind of what we do internally here on a daily basis at Encore. And that's what I do in my day job is help coordinate that and answer those questions associated with any of the products that we make. Externally, when that phone rings, who are we working with? And some of you out there I have talked to on the phone. We work with the contractors. We work with construction designers exteriorly, obviously legal, manufacturing and integration, data centers, things like that, PV, solar farms. We work with those individuals all the time. Product managers out in the field. So sometimes a product manager for a big project is tasked with finding answers for their contractors. And so we have to interact with them and they'll call us and ask specific applications and use of product. When can you use tray cable? When can you not use tray cable? Can I run MC cable? What about SE cable? I did mention that earlier. We obviously make SE cable, SEU, SER. And we even make the new hybrid that is a cross between SER and tray cable. So it has its unique benefits to both, that type of thing. So we're asked those questions all the time from the end user, right? So again, application engineers will call us up. They want to know what product to use for a certain installation, and we'll give them all the options that they have. They have to make the decision, but we'll give them those options. And of course, owners and manufacturers reps. We deal a lot with our manufacturers reps personally. We have them all over the country, and we deal with them, and they're the best resource for you if you're in a local market and you want to know where to get Encore Wire products, or you need to funnel something to us and you can't reach us. The Encore Wire reps are our partners in everything. Okay, they're very much supported directly by Encore, and you can go to our website, encorewire.com, and you'll see a link up at the top right. It says where to buy. You put in your zip code and you will be able to find the Encore Wire rep in your area. You reach out to them, they will tell you where you need to go. Okay, they'll be able to tell you who has what, who stocks what, that type of thing. Okay, so those are our external customers, contractors, the electricians, things like that. So when you think about what the role is of a codes and standards, especially with Encore Wire, you'll see that it is basically an interaction between not only the standards, but also the inspectors, also the safe installation that comes to the electricians that are installing it, as well as like the AHJs, which is the municipality folks, right? So as you can see here, it all really works together. You have the product standards to the left, which is utilized by the inspectors and enforcement. And then, of course, you see there's installation standards like the NEC, because that's what that is. That's an installation standard. It's a minimum safety standard. People hate me to say that, but that's what it is. And the inspectors will be looking to that. Ultimately, when you bring in a product standard, you bring in the enforcement AHJs, and you bring in the installation codes, whether it's the International Energy Conservation Code, or whether or not you're using one of the title codes out in California, or what have you, or the NEC. All of that comes together in order to make a safe installation, really. And that's what we're after. And so a lot of people will question the intent of why we're putting certain things into the code. And that's when I used to have to explain to people that anybody can submit a code change to the NEC. All you got to do is create a free account at nfpa.org. And when you're in the code development process, you just simply submit it, and it will get reviewed by the code making panel. If you just submit something and it doesn't have any merit to it, then it's probably not going to go anywhere, right? It's probably just going to die. But if it has merit and it makes sense and you justify it with some technical substantiation, then guess what? It's going to move forward and it could get into the NEC. One of the misconceptions is that people say that you just get into the NEC based on just code panels sitting there writing code. And that's not how it works, right? That's a fallacy. Now, do code panel members have influence? Absolutely, because they're experts. But at the end of the day, it's too many people sit on the committee for it to be pirated by any one group, okay? So it's a fair process, and that's how we develop the different codes, okay? Now, I am blocking a little bit of this, sorry, but again, you get the gist. So under the manufacturer standards, you have the involvement from the manufacturers with NEMA, CCA, Aluminum Association, NAGMA, ICEA, all of those type of things. Those are the manufacturer-driven standards. And then it gets submitted to things that develop the installation code. You got to remember, who knows their product better than a manufacturer, right? They know their products in and out. And so them being a part of the code development process or the development of the installation codes is critical, right? Because they know how their products are supposed to be installed. And so They give good insight, and that's why all of us different manufacturers sit on all these committees, whether it's UL, NEC, Canina, things like that. We sit on there for a reason, and that is because we have to give our expertise to the development of the installation standards. And of course, you see with the safe installation, you have so many other factors. You have IEI, you have the IEC, you have NECA, you have IEEE, you have the Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. Everybody a part of this installation development standard, which is the NEC, so that it makes things safer for the installer, okay, and safer for their customer, that type of thing. All right. So again, I apologize. I obviously not sure how to move this thing around and move, but I guess I could come back to me. But I'm not sure. Bear with me as I'm trying to figure out how to work this thing. I can read you what it is. So, philosophy of the specification. So, when you start thinking about the specification and what is it all about? So, why do we have specifications? Well, it's to minimize the business risk associated with electrical products due to incorrect specifications and to assist the effort to maintain our current, present, or gain a presence to the specification that Encore Wire is not currently listed on. So one of the reasons we have an ongoing effort here at Encore Wire is to make sure that we reach out to engineers to make sure that Encore Wire is in their specification. One, it increases the options for the customer, right? It gives them more choices. And instead of only offering maybe one manufacturer, we like the options. We like people having options, okay? So how do we assist in that effort? Well, we do technical support to the engineers through our reps. We do lunch and learns. If you have an engineering firm somewhere and you're interested in learning more about Encore Wire products, then we can come out there and do a lunch and learn for you and do some training for you, and kind of help give you additional insight on what products that are available. Then we'll do that. So we offer that one-on-one support to the individual engineering firms. And so that's a benefit to having us on your specification, because we do offer that additional assistance, right? Now, as far as the end user, how do we assist contractors and manufacturers? Well, what we do is help to update and validate a specific specification's accuracy. So if you need us to look at a specification, for example, that might be outdated. In other words, it's making reference to NEMA standards that are outdated, they're old, they're not current, things like that. Then we will do that, and we will look at that, and we will make recommendations to it for you. And that is one of the services that we offer here at Codes and Standards, is to be able to do that, right? We also preparing documents to help manufacturer reps interact with engineers. So a lot of times we draft letters that will assist people in understanding a certain specification or certain application for a specification. So we do that, and we offer those services, and that's all part of our philosophy of specification. It's so important that engineering firms have an updated specification. And of course, we want Encore Wire to be on that specification. So if you're an engineering firm out there and you're not specifying Encore Wire in that, reach out to us. I'm more than happy to look over your specification, find any pitfalls that might be there, not just for the wire and cable, for other things, because we look at a lot of stuff on a specification. But it's just one of the services that we offer here at Encore Wire. So again, if you want to take advantage of that, then all you got to do is reach out to us. And one of the ways to reach out to us, if you're an engineering firm, is just email us at codes@encorewire.com, and we're more than happy to dig into your code for you or your standard for you and see where you might have some pitfalls along the way. Okay, so that's just one of the services that we provide. So when we talk about minimizing the business risk associated with electrical products and how they are installed and used. So when it comes to Encore Wire, one of the functions that we do as a codes and standards team is if there is an issue, and this is important because this is one of the key functions that we do in our expertise, is that we try to determine why a product breaks down, whether it is manufacturing issue, whether it is a improper use in the field, whether you followed the minimum safety standard of the code, maybe you didn't use safe installation practices. We can identify all that, okay? We can look at that and determine where there's a problem in the chain of the installation, that type of thing. We can assist in offering a real electrician's perspective to the use of our wire and cable. I can tell you, being a master electrician for over 30 years, heavily in the first 20 years of my career, have installed every product that Encore Wire has to offer. So we can give you that unique perspective on an installation and tell you whether or not we recommend this or not. And so that's kind of a benefit you're going to get with codes and standards. At least here, we have that hands-on aspect of it that we bring to the team, right? We can assist our in-house team and manufacturer reps in limiting liability from a non-code compliant installation, shielding everyone involved from potential lawsuits. Because I can be honest with you, if we look at an installation and it was installed incorrectly, our reps are going to communicate with us and we're going to look at your installation. And so that's even more motivation for you to install it compliant, following the NEC. Because again, we want our products to be used properly. And so we're obviously going to give oversight to that. And if there's something that's installed improperly and we're involved in it, then, you know, I get people all the time who say, hey, Paul, you're telling me that a Myers hub has to use a tapered connector into it, like or tapered raceways, like RMC, rigid metal conduit, or intermediate metal conduit. Are you telling me I can't take a plastic TA connector, a male connector, and screw into it and bring PVC into a Myers hub? And I'm telling you, absolutely you cannot, because a Myers hub is designed for tapered threads, and usually connectors are designed for lock nuts, and those are considered straight threads. Okay, they're not tapered, and so it's not listed for the application. So thus, it wasn't evaluated for it. So if you try to bring something into a Myers hub, for example, and that's a fitting that goes on top of like meter cans that you bring in a raceway, if you try to do that and something fails, you know, heaven forbid it doesn't. You know, you hope it doesn't fail. And people say, well, I'll just cake it up with silicone or I'll put caulk on it. That's fine. You do what you need to do. But I'm using this as an example. If that ever fails and somebody like us is called out there, I'm going to know right away that you did not follow safe installation practices. You just went with what you had. And again, you're not going to win that case. You need to follow the code. In the National Electrical Code wasn't designed to be easy. Okay? It wasn't designed to be convenient. But if you follow it, it will be a safer than it would be doing nothing. It's a safer. Nothing removes all risk. Okay? You can't get rid of it all. But it is going to be the minimally as safest installation you can get. And as an installer, you've got some protection there if you install it based on the NEC. If you go rogue and do something other than that, then it's hard for anybody to help you. Just hope you never get caught or get in any trouble. Now, when it comes to the end user problem solving, what we work with, for example, fire hazards from improper installation practices or misuse of Encore Wire products. So we always will look and give you advice on the proper way to install our products. Why? Because we understand that if you install them improperly, you raise the risk of failure. So we're going to be heavily involved in that as a codes and standards. Shock hazards from improper installation practices or misuse of Encore Wire products. So we're always going to try to give you our perspective. And sometimes people say we're very conservative, but you have to understand it from a codes and standards perspective. We're trying to always make sure that the products are installed properly. Once you own the product, once it delivers to you, we can't control what you do with it, right? We can only hope that you install it in the proper method, okay? So in kind of a summary, codes and standards aids in minimizing the business risk associated with our electrical products and how they were installed and used. We do this for you whether you know it or not. So when we create a product and we give insight here at Codes and Standards, we're actually trying to protect you when we give you this advice. Okay. Why do we do it? What do we do? Well, we determine why a product is breaking down and we give a corrective procedure, how to not have that or what you can do to stop that. We assist in offering real electrical advice based on hands-on or our experience in the field or other cases that we've dealt with. We have in-house team. We work with manufacturing hand in hand to try to make sure that all of our products are as safe as possible and meet the listings as we put them out. We ensure that the specifications are accurate, and we work closely with the AHJs to do that. And again, ultimately, we provide direction on all products and how they're to be installed if you have that kind of question about our products. Some of the services that we do offer here at Codes and Standards, people ask from time to time, what things do you offer? So as you can see on the screen, these are some of the things that we offer. So if you're an engineering firm and you want us to do some in-house training, if you're an electrical contractor and you've got a bunch of folks and you want us to do some training to them, we can do it via webinar. And we offer that various types of training. We explain the aspects of 2556, which is the different testing standards for wire and cable. We can do training on flame tests, explain what it means, VW1, all those kind of things, what it means, IEEE 1202, installation in cable trays. We can explain all that. We can perform sag tension calculations, typically is only for service drops, or if you're using our 1350, something out for the aerial applications, typically when you get into that. Voltage drop calculations, we have some great calculators on our website. All you got to do is just go to the Encore Wire products, go down, tools and resources. We have great calculators there to help you do voltage drop, choosing the size of conductor you need, all those type of things. We even have a raceway fill calculator on our website in case you want to do that. You know, I'm big about teaching people how to do it, but they have great calculators out there on our website. Go check out encorewire.com. I'm going to put that back up on the screen for those that are interested in that. If I can get my mouse to work. Oh, a little fast there. Bear with me here. Let me get back over here. Okay, put that back up on the screen. Cable pull. This is one of the big things that we do for folks that they don't think about is every time you do a major pull, you need to think about a pull calculation. How much tension are you putting on those conductors? Are you going to have potential for sidewall pressure? All those type of things. So we offer a service where we do pull calculations. We have forms that are available from your Encore Wire rep, and they will be able to, you'll be able to submit a pull calculation form, and we'll do that for you. We do analysis of copper versus aluminum. What are the benefits of each product and where one might benefit you over the other? So we do that as well. So it's a presentation. We describe in the different stranding types, what is ASTM B3 versus B8 versus B787 stranding, or B800 if it's dealing with aluminum, or 801 for the compact stranding. We do presentations on that as well, whether it's to electricians and engineering groups or any associations. So if you're interested, reach out to us. We're more than happy to try to do that for you. Okay, so just feel free to holler at us. And again, to do that, you just can send it right there to codes@encorewire.com, and we're more than happy to answer those for you. We calculate, again, pulling tension. That's part of those things that we do with a pull calculation. The last thing we want you to do is elongate our wire and then damage it, that type of thing. So we do that. We will do maximum bend radius, give you assistance on that using the National Electrical Code, usually .24 within your specific wiring cable reference, talks about the bendings. We also have a document, and we explain things like mega ohm meters and the testing of them and how they don't actually work very well when everything is insulated and you have plastic raceways, but they work very well when you have a metal raceway. And so we do examples of some of that type of training. We'll talk about non-metallic sheath cable. We'll do adjustment and correction training which actually for the 2020 edition is 31015B and 31015C when it comes to adjustment and corrections. So we do that kind of training. We do give National Electrical Code interpretations. So you can send something into codes and we will assist in giving you some interpretations of that. So we will help with other different aspects of wire and cable when it comes to its design, its construction. We work closely with inspectors. And of course, if you need to select the proper wire and cable for your specific installation, then we also do that as well. So we help in all those aspects here at Encore Wire. Okay, so a lot of information about up to this point. So now it's kind of just gonna go through our products a little bit and kind of give you a little sneak peek at Encore Wire. And again, this is kind of a little video, so we'll see what it looks like here. So this is our campus. Kind of gives you an overview of Encore Wire's campus, all on one property, located here in McKinney, Texas. And you'll see we have different plants for different production. There's our corporate office. That's where I'm at. And there's our train tracks that bring in our cathode and our plastics and some of the different things that we need for production. There's our recycling plant as well. Again, scrap program here. Probably the best prices on copper scrap. There's our cathode going up to the vertical furnace. And there you see the copper coming out of the vertical furnace. And I don't know how well this is streaming, obviously. I've never done this before like this. But so there's our, this shows you our facility, and this is stranding portion of the facility that's doing stranding and things like that. So here you see we have the different machines that produce our different wire and cable, Pull Pro station, making our Pull Pros and all that. And what you don't see is, our MC, our smart ground, which is our labels, all those type of things that go on our products. And this is our aluminum facility. Within 2 years, it had to expand, double its size, simply due to the popularity of our compact aluminum. And this is kind of our R&D lab. You can see we're always designing, whether it's the reels or new products. There's our flame chamber. We test the products all the way down to our packaging, and which ships out to all of our distribution locations. Some of our reps are distributing reps, but usually we have some of the greatest fill rates in the industry when it comes to, once you order, getting the product out to you. Okay, so let's see here. Let me stop that. All right, so that's was a kind of an overview of our campus. You can see that video without probably the delay. You can see that video over on Encore Wire's YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in Encore Wire Corporation, and you can see that video. Kind of gives you an overview of our campus. So our manufacturing facility, we have ownership of 425 acres, kind of what you see in the red. And actually, this isn't even accurate because we've even added more. Okay, so the portion that is here, right in here, this is all ours as well now. And over here in this area right here, we have a brand new distribution center, over 700,000 square feet. So again, the approximate square footage has grown over 2 million square feet under roof as Encore Wire just continues to grow. It was founded in 1989, started out 68,000 square foot facility making non-metallic sheath cable. That was the main thing that was produced here. It went publicly traded under the ticker WIRE under NASDAQ. So you can go look and see how well Encore Wire is doing. And then Encore Wire grows every 1 to 2 years, and that's outstanding when you think about the growth of a corporation. Because just this year, we finished another growth, and that was what we call a training facility. It's a medical center for our employees, but it's also training facility and HR, employment, hiring, and all this kind of stuff. So again, it's just constantly expanding. So every year it seems to be more and more expansion. So you kind of look at the evolution of growth back in '89, and then you'll see that in 1992 had the public offering, '94 expanded, '97 expanded, '98 copper mill, '99 plastics mill, 2001 plant 3 came on board making circuit wires like THHN, added striping, machine tool wire, expanded the DC distribution, which was done in '97. It had to be expanded again. So again, that expansion took place in 2006. You had the armor cable come online. 2007, corporate office. 2008, plant 5 came online here. And that's where it would be industrial cable like tray cables and larger size MC feeders. The R&D development building came in 2010. And then, of course, you had in 2012, you had the aluminum plant. And then, of course, as you can see, in less than 2 years, it expanded to double its size because of the amount of compact aluminum that we're putting out, in addition to our copper, obviously. And then in 2016, we expanded the armor cable yet again. And plant 6, you can see the expansion that took place. But what you don't see here is that we also expanded across the street to over 700,000 square feet distribution. And then again, just this year, we finished the training facility. That was an expansion of that as well. So constantly growing and expanding all on one campus here in McKinney. And that allows us to be able to bring products to consumers very quick. And it allows us to keep quality control great because it's all on one campus. Everything's here. So when you think of Encore Wire, what are we bringing to the table as far as a partner when you're choosing a wire and cable manufacturer? It's very lean structure here, very family feel. We have 5 levels of employees, from the top level CEO down to our people on the floor. You have VPs, you have directors, you have managers, you have supervisors, and then you have your employees. Okay, so the real chain of employee structure is excluding the CEO. You have the VP chain down to the actual line worker, and so it's very lean, right? And of course, 1,300 employees now. I believe we're even greater than that because of the expansions that we've had over the last couple of years. The other thing that's unique about Encore Wire is that we're very sales driven. We're not reactionary to something. In other words, just sit there and dedicate lines to producing hundreds and millions of feet of something and then warehousing it and it just sits. That's not our approach to business. We don't really have a manufacturing schedule. So we will make stuff for people, and that means we can be very nimble in how we produce it so that the lead times are as small as possible, even in a challenging market like today. Okay. So it is an example of a business model that it's been successful since '89. And again, it's the vision of the original founder, Mr. Rigo. I wasn't here. And then, of course, the vision carried on with Daniel Jones, our CEO. Vince Rigo was the founder, and our CEO, Daniel Jones, pretty much did everything from sweeping the floor all the way up to where he is today. So he's had his hands in a little bit of everything, which makes for a great CEO when it comes to that type of thing because he knows what the product is. He has an experience with it. He wasn't just somebody hired that doesn't know wire and cable. That's a benefit to all of us. One of our trademarks is going over and above for our customers, right? And that is key aspect of being able to add that customer service, going over and above, right? And then honesty means that when Encore Wire tells you something, they're going to do it. We don't even have real contracts with our reps, right? It's a handshake. So it's one of those things that if we make a commitment to them and we make a commitment to the customer, they're going to carry through, right? So it's that dedication to partnership. People ask me all the time, can you call up and can you buy products directly from us? And the answer to that is no, you cannot. You have to go through our channels. And that is because we are dedicated to our partners in the process. So that's one of the things about Encore Wire is you have to follow the process. Now, we are listed on Master Spec. We are listed in Spec Link. So if you're an engineer out there that has Master Spec or Spec Link, you need to toggle us on. Make sure you turn it on so that we're actually going to show up in your specification. And of course, if you have any questions or you want to reach out to us, again, there's an easy way to get to us. All you got to do is send something to codes@encorewire.com and we'll get it directly and be able to answer any of those questions you might have. Now, of our copper products, this is what we produce. And they're not, and we don't have the hybrid on here, but we do produce the hybrid. We do NMB, UFB, SEU, SER. Obviously, we produce bare copper, which is used for all of our products. A machine tool wire, THW-2. Obviously, the workhorse is THHN, THWN-2. We make tons of that. That's a thermoplastic insulation. And we make XHHW-2, USE-2, and obviously PV, all in the copper. Our stranding is either ASTM B3, ASTM B8, or ASTM B787, depending on sizes you choose. So we have a good product mix for what's necessary in the industry. Now, the XHHW USE-2, what you don't see up here is RHH, RHW-2, but we make that as well. And so the XHHW, RHH, RHW-2, PV, all of those are called thermoset insulation, different than thermoplastic insulation. Thermoplastic insulation can be volatile in temperatures. It can melt. That's why when you install it, you have to follow all these rules in the code. Well, the same applies to the thermoset. It just has way more forgiveness to the insulation than a thermoplastic would have. But at the end of the day, you still have to treat them all the same as far as your installation. The installation is rated 90 degrees C, so you have to treat all of it the same. But this kind of tells you what we make. We make MC cable, both the PVC jacketed or covered, as well as the standard MC. But we also make specialty MC. Okay, we call that our smart ground products. And that is where you would use the armor as an equipment ground and conductor. Okay, so we make that product as well because typically you can't do that with normal MC, but we do make that. We also make AC cable, just plain old armored cable as well. So if you're interested in that, we do produce that. And of course, tray cable. We make tons of tray cable. And we make what's called our hybrid cable, which you don't see it on here, but that is one of our newest things that actually takes all the benefits of an SE cable, okay, which like a SER, it takes all of those benefits and it also takes all the benefits of tray cable and puts them together. Okay, so that's a product we have available. If you're interested in that, reach out to your Encore Wire rep. Just go to our website and you'll see where it says buy our products and where to buy, and check out our rep and they will be able to help you out. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of that. Our copper that we use, we conform to ASTM B49. Our stranding is all either ASTM Class B or, like I said, ASTM B787. We make 600 volt, we make 1000 volt, and we make PV at 2000 volt rated insulation. And we make products for the industrial, commercial, and obviously residential market. Okay, now our copper, we use electrolytic tough pitch because we're going for the purest value of copper we can without trying to basically purify it down or refine it down. We start off already with extremely high 99.999 type of copper rating because we want the most purest product out there. And so we do that. And again, we follow ASTM B49 for our copper production. And we do that here. So at Encore Wire, it's from the cathode, we take it in and we melt it down and it ends up being the final product right here on one campus. Okay. So it doesn't go anywhere else We do everything here. Now, of course, with the aluminum products, it's exactly the same. The only difference is we don't do aluminum products in the 12 gauge and 10 gauge and that type of thing. But we do make SEU, SER, mobile home feeder, which, to be honest with you, mobile home feeder is really the same as USE, okay? Essentially the same thing. Obviously, we do all of the same insulation classes for our aluminum products as we would our copper products, right? So it's just generally it's the same insulation, that type of thing. Now, obviously, we do type U, which is typically the flat like you see here on the screen. This is what you'd have coming down from the weatherhead down through a meter down in the 2020 code. You would have an exterior emergency disconnect. This would be outside. It may also be your service disconnect, but that would be outside. And this is what you would use. It's 3 conductors here. Obviously, two hots, and a spiral grounded neutral conductor. No need for an equipment ground on the supply side of a service disconnect. Obviously, there's no overcurrent device to trip. So, but you do have your 3 conductors there. We make that product, and this is also available in both copper and aluminum. And this is SER, typically what you're going to get downstream of your service panel as it goes downstream to a remote distribution panel. Like in this case, the panel on the left is your service panel. The panel on the right, that would be your remote distribution panel. Just so happens that they're close together. And so you would use an SER once you go downstream, whether it's in the same building or it's a detached structure like a garage or outbuilding. Same concept. You would need 4 conductors. Now, the thing about the SER is that it can't go below grade. It's above ground product. So this is where the hybrid comes in. So the hybrid takes an SER and turns it into a tray cable, which is rated for direct burial. So that's the beautiful thing about that hybrid product that we offer. But we do make the SEU and the SER, again, as you see here, again, available in copper or aluminum. So again, either one. And this kind of gives you a bit of an understanding. Coming into your panel, you'd be having an SEU, and then going out to a panel downstream, you would have an SER. Of course, this graphic shows it done in a raceway. And again, so still 4 conductors there, just like it would be with an SER. It's just you have different options for that. And of course, you have tons of our products that are utilized for anything like the branch circuit. So MC cable, AC cable, all of that can be used for branch circuits and feeders going out to receptacles, lighting, whatnot. Obviously, we make non-metallic sheath cable, NMB. That goes out to receptacles, lighting outlets, and all that kind of stuff. So hold on for a second. I'm noticing something came out here. Sorry about that. Had a low battery warning coming on my thing. So we make all of the products for that. Even if your feeder's outside going underground to another building and you didn't want to use the hybrid, we make Pvc Jacketed MC, perfectly fine. We make SEU. Those conductors are designed to go straight into the ground. We make that product as well. So, and that's kind of like what mobile home feeders to do. It's just there's no standard for mobile home feeder. It's really USE-2, but to make it easy for people to understand it and give it a color scheme that you're familiar with, we call it mobile home feeder, right? But it's basically a USE-2 insulation type product, okay? Obviously, our PV wire, we make our PV wire that goes out to the arrays so they can be exposed under the array. Article 690 allows for that, and we have that. But we also make XHHW-2 in a 1,000-volt rating. So interesting in this layout right here, here you have the strings, comes back to the combiner. Well, coming back, you could properly size XHHW-2 here. And the beautiful thing about that is since XHHW has a 1,000-volt rating, it means that the insulation is the same as it would be for the 600-volt rating. So when you're doing raceway fill, you don't have to worry about going to a larger raceway because of the thicker insulation. That's what you'd have to do if you put PV wire or RHH, RHW-2 in a raceway. Well, if you use XHHW-2 in a raceway in this scenario, then you can do a normal raceway fill calculation, and you don't have to worry about getting data from a manufacturer, okay, for a PV wire, things like that, okay? So now when it comes to Encore Wire, we do not make 2000 volt RHH, RHW-2, and we do not make 2000 volt rated X. We do for PV wire, but we don't for the wire that would go on a raceway. Okay, those are 1000 volt rated. Okay, and there's not many 2000 volt rated applications for PV that we'd be involved in. Mostly the 1000 volts going to get you covered. Okay, now our PV wire, like I said, goes up to 2000 volts. So except for 10 gauge, which you can get that in a 600 volt for residential applications if that's really what you want. But again, if it's good for 2000, trust me, it's okay for 600. So that's not an issue. A mobile home feeder, as you can see right here, it is basically just like a plexed a URD, if you will. It's just in a color scheme that you're familiar with, blacks, whites, and greens. Whereas our typical URD is going to be blacks and yellows. Okay, that type of thing. But in here, it's basically the same USE-2. It's not really any different. This can go directly into the earth. Okay, and when you get to the end, you sleeve it into a raceway, and then it comes up into the enclosures, and you're good to go. So this is very common for mobile homes that go from the pedestal or the pole over to the actual mobile home. And of course, we make tray cable both in aluminum or copper. That's designed for use in all different types of cable trays, ladder trays, solid bottom trays. We make tray cable. It's designed to be used in these trays. Now, many people get confused with cable tray and the application of tray cable. That's what it's designed for. But can you use it anywhere else? Yeah, you can use tray cable in raceways. Of course, you got to remember, if it's a complete raceway, then you got to do raceway fill. But you can also hang it on a messenger. You can put it in, again, cable trays. But you can also direct bury it. And that's why we created the hybrid, to take all of the attributes, because SCR you can't put in the ground, but tray cable you can. So by creating this hybrid, you're melding the two, and you're able to bring the two together, right? So that's what we do with the hybrid. But we do make tray cable. It's in copper or aluminum. So again, that's available for you. Obviously, we make large feeder size MC that can go in cable trays as well. Both the branch, the feeder, and even service applications for industrial applications. Obviously, we do that. We make non-metallic sheath cable. Here you see the color scheme, white, yellow, and orange. That's not a code requirement. But for visualization, it makes it really quick, because I can tell that the conductors in the white sheathing are 14 gauge, conductors in the yellow sheathing are 12 gauge, conductors in the orange sheathing are 10 gauge. So again, all right. Now, people ask about that dash B. Basically, that dash B that you have is right there. That dash B is just telling you that the insulation on those conductors inside of that sheathing are rated 90 degrees C. Now, 334.80 of the NEC is going to limit you to 60 degrees of ampacity when you go to 310/16. Okay, but it's important to have that insulation at 90, because it does allow me to apply any adjustment and corrections that may be taking place, like when I go to my through bored holes that have foam in them, or things like that, or when I'm bundling cables. I'm going to have to do something to change the ampacity of this conductor. And so that's the benefit of being able to use the 90 for those adjustment and correction purposes. Okay, so. And of course, this happened in 1984, and now this is a standard. So all of your non-metallic sheet cable today, the insulation on the conductors inside of it are going to be rated 90 degrees C. So this is just some examples of an installation using non-metallic sheath cable, boring those holes, maintaining an 1.25 inches from the edge of the bored hole to the framing member on both sides, so that, you know, if you don't, then you got to put nail plates up. And of course, people ask, can you use non-metallic sheath cable in metal studs? Absolutely, you can. Just make sure that you have a grommet, and it's got to be an all-inclusive grommet. Okay, it can't be a half moon where it just sits on it. It's got to encompass the entire circumference of the circle of the punched hole. But then if that's the case, non-metallic sheath cable is fine. Just remember, it's the type of construction, right? So type 3, type 4, type 5 construction is wood. Type 1 and 2 is concrete and steel, or it might be a building that's could be built out of wood, but somebody chose to build it out of steel. Well, if it could have been built out of wood and they chose to build it out of steel, like here, these metal studs, then it's still okay to use non-metallic sheath cable. Perfectly fine. Just make sure that you install the grommets properly. Okay, and you're going to want to do that. That is very sharp through there, and you don't want any damage to the non-metallic sheath cable. That's for sure. Now, kind of giving an overview of our products, here you see THHN, THWN. The biggest difference in here, as I explained to people, this is a stranded core. This is your extruded insulation, and here's the nylon covering that's extruded over it. This nylon is sacrificial. It helps with the coefficient of friction when you're pulling it through a raceway, and it does protect the insulation. Unless you're dealing in an oil and gas environment, then you need this nylon to stay intact. But other than that, if it cracks or breaks off during the install, it's not a big deal, okay? You just have to know your installation. This right here is XHHW, the second one down. That is a cross-link polyethylene, and that is, we refer to XLPE. It's much more resilient for long-term exposure underwater, even though both are rated to be in a raceway that's going to be underground. You get a lot more life expectancy out of a cross-link polyethylene than you would a thermoplastic. Hydroscopically, it's not the same, so you get a little bit better. So I always recommend X in that. And of course, when you go to USC-2 and RHH-RHW-2, it's an even thicker insulation. It's still thermoset, but it's a little thicker installation. So again, makes for even better product when you're installing it underground in a raceway. Now, USC-2 obviously can be installed directly in the earth. But if you're going to be putting it in a raceway, then you're going to be using it as RHH, RHW-2. Why is that important? Well, the voltage rating on USC-2 is limited to 600 volts. But if you use that product as an RHH, RHW-2, then it's good for 1,000 volts. See how that works? It depends on the listing of the product, okay? And then, of course, you have our PV wire down here, the last one on the page. It's even thicker than USC-2. It's still a thermal set, but it's even thicker, okay? And so that's why it can be used outside under the PV arrays, because it's even thicker and it has more protection against abrasion. But if you're using it as PV, it has a 2,000 volt rating. But if you're using it as USC-2, taking that listing, then it only has a 600 volt rating. If you're using it as RHH, RHW-2, then it has a 1,000 volt rating. So again, depends on your use, what voltage rating you get out of a product. And that's what we call quad rating. You get to pick the use that you're going to use it for. Of course, we have MC and AC products. As you can see, the very top one is our AC products. They do require an anti-short bushing. The MC products do not, as you know, or should know. So we make AC products, and those little labels you see there, that's for the smaller sizes, the 10s, the 14s, the 12s, all that. Those tell you what's inside of the product, tells you what type of armor it is. And if you look at it, you can tell that if it has a yellow label, that those are 12 gauge inside, okay? And so if it has a white label, there'd be 14. If it had an orange label, they'd be 10. That's what you see visually by our Smart Color ID system. And I'll remind you that they can be ripped off. All you have to do is grab them and take them off. So if you get to a point of termination and it's right there at one of these labels, just pull it off. They come right off. They're designed that way. But it allows for a quick glance. You don't have to worry about color schemes. You don't have to worry about the paint schemes on it. You don't have to worry about what the different colors mean, because it literally tells you right there. And this is what we do on our branch MC and AC cables, okay? So again, it also tells you whether it's steel or aluminum armor. And that's important because when you're using a connector, you can't use the set screw type for the aluminum armor, but you can for steel. So when you're looking at these labels, if you see a gray label, you know it's aluminum armor. If you see a blue label, like that MCSL, then that tells you that is a steel armor, right? So these are things that really make it stand out so that you know that you're choosing the right fittings, that you're doing everything properly, okay? And of course, we make the larger feeders type at the bottom there as well, MC. Now, we do specialty MC as well. People talk all the time about, well, hey, I know that you can't use the armor for an equipment ground on MC cable like you can with AC cable. Okay, that's true. You can't. However, we do make an MC that allows the armor to be used like an equipment ground. Now, this saves so much time and labor. If you have a lot of boxes in a large building and you don't have to make up all these connections, all right, so let's say you're using a grounding type receptacle and you follow the rules in the code and you're in Article 406 and you're mating it, okay, to a metal box, then you don't have to put those equipment bonding jumpers over because the armor is an equipment ground. Use a proper MCI-A fitting, special fitting, and it mates to the metal box. Guess what? It's all done. You don't have to make up all those pigtails everywhere. So again, it can save a lot of labor if you're doing a bunch of boxes. Okay, so that's Smart Ground products. And in there, you'll have this little conductor that's inside of here, right here. Okay, you're basically, typically for this product, it's about a 10 gauge aluminum. You bend it back, you snip it off, you're done with it. Its purpose has already been done. It's there to make sure that all of the convolutions of that armor are bonded together so that if there is a fault onto that armor, it's going to help clear an overcurrent protective device. Okay, so that wire in there is very critical to the performance of that product. Right now, you do need to use special fittings. They're called MCI-A. They're readily available. In fact, you can get any one of these documents, like this is one that happens to be from Bridgeport, and you can get them from Arlington, any of the manufacturers, you can get their documents. And here it'll tell you what type of fitting for what type of armor you're dealing with. And you go to it, again, manufacturers like Arlington, Thomas & Betts, Bridgeport, all of them have these documents that are available that you can print out. And again, you're choosing the fitting based on the OD of the actual cable, okay? So that's how you would correspond it. It comes in a range. And you just go to the manufacturer. We don't have any one that we specify over another. It's just making sure that it meets that range. And we publish all of our ranges for our cables on the Encore Wire website. So if you want to look at the products and see the different cables, then just go to encorewire.com and you'll see products and you get spec sheets. I shouldn't say spec sheets. I tell everybody not to say that. Product sheets on all of the products, okay? Or product cut sheets, okay? Now, we will give you specifications on there that our products meet, but they're really just product sheets on our stuff, okay? All right, so we also make what? We make healthcare facility MC. Now, what's the difference between the smart ground and the healthcare facility? Well, when you have a smart ground, again, you're using the armor, right, as your equipment ground. Well, with the HCF smart ground, you're now also putting back into the MC cable an insulated equipment ground. Why is that? Because if you're dealing in a patient care space inside of a healthcare facility, then you've got to meet the rules of 517.13 A and B. And that requires that the armor qualifies as an equipment ground and you have an insulated copper equipment ground inside of the cable, right? So that's what a healthcare facility smart ground MC is all about. It's got the armor outside and it's got the insulated equipment ground inside. Together, they meet 517.13 A and B. Now, you could do that with a metal raceway and still pull an insulated equipment ground in it. You could do that as well. But this product is right out of the box. It's ready to go for any of those applications where you might need it in a patient care space. Now, inside of a healthcare facility, the waiting areas, the offices, they don't need a special cable like this. You can use regular MC. It's only when you're dealing in those areas where it requires it. And those would be like where you're serving patient care spaces. That would be something that's necessary to have this kind of healthcare facility style MC cable, right? So we make that. We also make Fplp, okay? So this is designed for enunciation alarm systems in fire alarm systems, the NAC panel power, all the things that need normal 120 volt power. That's what you would use this for. It is Plenum rated, okay? Now, one thing about Plenum rating, normal MC does not have to be Plenum rated to be above a suspended ceiling in an environmental airspace. It acts like a Plenum, okay? So it doesn't have to have any Plenum rating. So above a suspended ceiling that you have an air conditioning or air handler and it's pulling air from the room up into this big cavity, that's called an environmental airspace, right? And in that location, you're okay to use MC cable. No problems with that. But if you actually have a plenum that you have to penetrate, then you get a product that's plenum rated, and that Fplp is plenum rated if that's what you need. So maybe you need to supply something inside of a plenum and you need to get power to it. Well, that's when you would use an Fplp. I will tell you, though, that the National Electrical Code has changed, and it does allow MC to penetrate into a plenum for a minimum distance in order to supply something that would be monitoring the system inside of a plenum. So you do have a little bit of allowances there. But if you need a plenum product, and really more people get that confused, you really don't need a MC that's plenum rated to do above a suspended ceiling that is environmental rated. You really don't need something that's plenum rated, but you could use regular MC. But if you do need it, there you go. Fplp, it is really just normal MC that gets a little bit extra testing in FPA 262 testing on it in order to get the plenum rating. It's really only difference in it. Okay, so we make those products as well. Obviously, we make PVC Jacketed MC, so it's available in our branch circuit sizes, but it's obviously also available in our feeder. And the inners could be THHN, THWN-2, or XHHW-2. Okay, inners as well, so that's available. We also make specialty cables, like you probably heard it. This is called MC LED. It's the technical name for it is MC PCS, and this has the 0 to 10 lighting and control aspect in it, and the power. And it's separated due to the fact that the 0 to 10 volt conductors have a sheathing around them, and it has to be equivalent to what you would get for a non-metallic sheath cable, right? 30 mils of insulation of sheathing, in order to be able to have that separation. The beautiful thing about this product is if you're dealing in somewhere that has day shading or daylight operations that are saving energy, and you need to control like a dimmer system or something like that, or maybe some blinds and shades, this product can be integrated into automation, and you can get not only the control aspect there, but also the power there, okay? Now, doing this in a raceway is difficult because it requires you to have a separation. But this product allows them to be together in the same cable assembly. So quite interesting. So check this product out. We call it the MC LED, but by no means is this only rated for LED lighting. It can be for anything that you need both power and control at the same location. Okay, that's what this product would be good for. And yes, it is available in PVC jacketing as well. So for example, if you're going to be going out to parking lighting out in a parking lot or whatnot, and that's going to be controlled on the smart building system, then you know what? And that itself is a product that you might want to be able to get the power and control in it, and you would use PVC jacketed products for that. Okay, so anyway, so that's a good product there for that application. Now, specialty, other unique labor-saving type of products. We make MC multi-neutrals, we make MC multi-circuits, and we make MC with the oversized neutral. Now, what are the differences, real quickly? So we have MC, and when we talk about labor savings, what is the benefit? Well, MC multi-neutral means that for every hot conductor, you have an equal neutral conductor. So if I have a black, red, blue, then I'm going to have a white with a black stripe, a white with a red stripe, and a white with the blue stripe. And so the white with the blue goes with the blue wire, the white with the black goes with the black, and the white with the red goes with it. So you have 3 separate branch circuits, and every one of them has their own neutral, okay? Now, when it comes to the multi-circuit, that is an aspect of sharing a neutral. So I might have a black and a black with a white stripe, and that means that I have a white conductor goes with the black, and I have a white with the black stripe might go with the black with the white stripe, or however you want to configure it. The key here is you're sharing a neutral, and it's configured so that you're very clear with what's getting used for what. Okay? So you might have 2 hots sharing a neutral, and you have 2 other hots sharing a neutral. So again, black and a black with white sharing 1 white. And so either way, it depends on what's being utilized. So I could have a white with a black stripe for those 2, and I could have a white with a red stripe for those 2, that type of thing. So it's all about sharing a neutral with the multi-circuit. Now, what about the oversized neutral? When is that used? Well, when you need an oversized neutral is if you have an installation in a building that might have a high harmonics, okay, harmonic distortion. They're not using a K-class transformer to get rid of that distortion. They're not filtering it out. And so what happens is you don't have a nice even sinusoidal waveform, and it ends up putting more current on the neutral that normally would be on it if it was canceling out, right? And so sometimes the cheaper route is to go with a cable that has a larger neutral, rather than put in a K-class transformer and spend all that money into designing that out. They might go with something knowing that there's going to be more current traveling on the neutral. So they will get one with a larger neutral, and it can handle that return current, okay? And so that's when you would have an oversized neutral. You'll know that if you're designing a system that has a lot of triplet harmonics, or however the system, you will know that if you have a lot of harmonic distortion, engineers will say, well, I don't want to go with the transformer. Let's just oversize the neutral on our installation. Well, then this product is perfect for that application, okay? And of course, we also make indium with multiples circuits in it. So we make a 1422 and a 1222. Why would this be beneficial? Let me give you an example. So let's say I'm doing a multi-story building, and it's up to 5 stories, sprinklered with wood construction, and I want to run non-metallic sheath cable. I'm going to the kitchen. If I have a kitchen, and this can be also great for efficiencies. If I'm hitting the kitchen, I have very limited countertop receptacles, then I might hit the counter, and when I go to I might hit it with a 1222. So I hit it with an indium 1222. Rather than have to do 2 home runs, I do 1 home run. And then when I hit that box, I branch out and go that way with one of the circuits, and I go that way with the other circuit, and I can do this all with 1 home run. So I save all of that labor. They're 2 separate circuits in 1 cable assembly. And I come and I wrap around and get everything I need from that circuit, and I get everything I need from that circuit. So it saves a home run. Now multiply that by multiple dwelling units in a multi-story building. The labor can really save up. And that's why people do it also with the MC cable, is because if you really think out your installation, you can save a lot of labor, that pulling of things, by doing it, okay? And people say, well, will it work the same? Absolutely, it works the same. It's just saving you the labor. That's it, okay? In residential, you might pull it down the hall, and you could feed 2 bedrooms out of it because it's 2 circuits, 2 branch circuits in 1 cable. And it's not a multi-wire branch circuit. It's 2 separate branch circuits. So that's a benefit to that. And that's a 1422 and a 1222. Okay. So just different products that might save you time and labor in your installation. All right. So what did we learn today? Nylon on THHN can crack during installation. It's sacrificial. But if you're going to be in an oil and gas environment, you have to make sure that that nylon stays intact. But again, if it cracks, no harm, no foul, not a problem. What we didn't talk about is what the -2 means on THHN, THWN-2. Well, the -2 means that the rating of that insulation is good at 90 degrees, whether it's wet or dry. And that is so important for designers when we're doing adjustment and corrections. We need to start at 90. Now, granted, we got terminal limitations, and I'm not going to go into that here because I don't even know how this stream is working, because this is the first time I've ever used this software like this here at Encore. And it's obviously I got work to do with it. But at the end of the day, if I've got that -2, if I didn't have that -2 on that THWN, it only has 1 H. So it's only good for 75 degrees C. But when I have that -2, it's now good for 90, even in a wet location. So it allows me to apply adjustment and corrections to the ampacity of that conductor under the 90 degree, making sure I don't exceed the values of under the 110.14C1A or B for my conductors, okay, based on the termination limitations, okay? That's a lot of stuff. But again, that -2 is critical. Now, across the board, it's the exact same way. What about XHHW-2? You see 2 H's, right? So immediately you think, why do I need the -2? It's 90 degree, 2 H's. No H, 60. 1 H, 75. 2 H's, 90. Well, this is a unique one, because if you look at the code and you go to 310.3 in the tables, no, actually 310.4, you look at the different tables, you'll see that XHHW is only good for 90 in a dry location. The moment that you put XHHW in a wet location, it drops to 75. Well, now that it's got that -2 on it, guess what? It's good for 90, and we can start our adjustment and corrections from the 90 degree. Okay. Same thing with the RHW-2. Without that -2 in a wet location, that's what the W stands for, then it can only be rated 75. But if I put that -2 on it, it's rated 90. Okay. Let's see here. What are the advantages for using Encore Wires? Smart ground? Well, again, we saw earlier, it's less terminations. If you use a smart ground, you don't have an equipment grounding conductor to make up in the box. Okay. So it is going to save a lot of labor. Okay. Isaiah's question about the Fast Tracks Black, there isn't anything you can do, Isaiah. Orange is not a program. Orange just gives you access to everything. There's really nothing. It's not a program. It's just access to everything. So no, there's really nothing we can do right now. You can email us at our office and see what we can possibly come up with, pay the difference, but there is nothing you can overtly do for that. It is what it is. See, where can you use TC cable? You heard me talk about tray cable, where you can use it. It can be in a cable tray. It can be on a messenger, okay? Hang it on a messenger from building to building. It can be direct buried in the earth if it has that rating on it, right? And it can be installed in a raceway, right? Okay, that's the benefits of TC cable there. Another misconception when it comes to tray cable, once you come out of the ground, people ask all the time, can you run tray cable on the side of a building exposed? And the answer to that is no, you can't. Okay, it only can be in the ground, in a cable tray, in a raceway, or on a messenger. That's it. That is why Encore Wire, we invented the hybrid cable. The hybrid can take a tray cable underground. The moment that it comes out of the ground, it becomes SER cable. Can you install SER cable on the side of a building? Absolutely. We do it all the time. So you pick up both of those attributes. So that is, again, that's one of my inventions. And it's, again, exclusive at Encore Wire. So reach out to your Encore Wire rep if interested in that. Is MC cable plenum rated, and what exactly is plenum rated? Okay, so again, MC cable is not plenum rated generally, and it typically doesn't have to be, right? So what happens is when you have, let's say, a building with a drop ceiling, and up above that drop ceiling, we have an air handler. If you have vents in your ceiling that pulls the air out of the room where you're sitting into that cavity, and it pulls it into the actual air handler through a side filter, then that space up there is called environmental airspace. Well, if that's the case, it acts like a plenum. So you can't put non-metallic products up there. You can't put plastics up there, right? So you wouldn't put PVC in that environment. But in the code, MC cable is okay to go up there, okay? It's all metal. So you put it up there, and it doesn't have to be plenum rated to be there, okay? So in the code, go look at 300.22 and look at the rules there, and you'll see that for environmental spaces, you're okay to have MC. So it doesn't need to be plenum rated, right? So that's a big confusion. Now, if I have an air handler above the ceiling and everything is ducted in other words, the air that gets up from the room goes up through a vent into a duct system, into the air handler, and then back out of the air handler, and then blown back down into your room. That's a closed system. That whole thing is a plenum, okay? And you typically don't penetrate the plenum. Although you can penetrate the plenum if you need to put some type of sensor in there, then you're allowed to penetrate the plenum. And the code has allowances for that, for you to penetrate it for short distances, okay? Unless your cable is plenum rated, okay? And of course, we do make Fplp, which is plenum rated MC. But if you don't go more than a certain number of feet, then you could use MC for that and you'd be fine too. Go check out 300.22. All right, so that's the difference. Most MC, when people contact me and say, I need to have it plenum rated MC, usually they don't know what they really want. And you don't need plenum rated. The chances of you actually penetrating a plenum are slim and none. It's probably going to be an environmental airspace. Now, you can't use PVC jacketed MC up there, right? because it's PVC, right? So here's another interesting tip. If I'm transitioning from underground with the PVC Jacketed MC, then I go up and I go above a ceiling, which is environmental air. Could I strip off the PVC? Absolutely, because MC can be there. Perfectly fine to do that. So if you strip off the the PVC jacketing on it, you're perfectly fine. Another question that people ask me about PVC Jacketed MC is if I'm using it underground and then I come up into a building, now I'm in a dry location. Do I have to use a special fitting that goes over the PVC jacketing and all that? Absolutely not. If you're in a dry location and you're terminating it, just strip off the PVC material and use a regular MC connector. You're fine. You don't need to use a special fitting, okay, when the location is in a dry location. You only have to worry about that when you're doing a termination in a wet location. Okay, makes sense? You don't have to buy a more expensive type of fitting because the location where you're making the termination, it's dry. You get me? Okay. All right, so this is kind of our cut sheets. I just wanted to end on this. If you go to our website, encorewire.com, I will put that up. You can see all of our products will have these product sheets, and it gives you all of the information. It gives you the diameters. It gives you the gauging, stranding. As you can see, whether it's THHN, it even tells you some of the applications and all that kind of stuff is available. At the bottom, it has what's called the the print legend. It'll tell you what the rating is that's printed on the product. That's at the bottom. You can't see it, small text, but it's there. But you see we make these for every product that we offer. So you can go to our website, and there's our NMB. People ask us when I'm putting NMB in a raceway, how do I get the dimensions? Just go to our website and download it. And it has the dimensions you need to do that calculation. And I explain that in one of my TikTok videos. So go check those out. If you're not following me on TikTok, I explain that. There's our UFB. There's our SCU. There's our SCR. There's our tray cable. There is our MC cable. Again, understanding MC cable. There's a little extra. We won't go into that. There's our PVC jacketed. Okay. There's our healthcare facility. There's our MC LED products. And again, our aluminum products are manufactured. Same concept in our plant with our ASTM grade rod that comes in, and we draw it out in stranding classes, B800, B801, and stranding it out. We make 600 and 1,000 volt rated conductors for the aluminum products. We make 1350 and 8000 series aluminum. Remember, 8000 is what you want in a building. 1350 is outside of a building. Okay, so anything you're doing in the building has to be 8000 series aluminum. Okay, and the process of annealing is a little different than copper. We won't get into it, but aluminum, you have to anneal it to work it, and you have to anneal it again because it loses that as you draw it out. And we want it to be as pliable as possible. Okay, have ductile strength. All right, aluminum facts. People don't know a lot about aluminum. But aluminum cable has been safely used for more than 40 years. So if you're one of those that don't understand aluminum, it's been in the industry for over 40 years. Aluminum has a 61% of conductivity of copper on a volume basis. However, it is 200% the conductive of copper on a weight basis. So again, it's very light. So even though you have to go up in size, when you do that, you're still going to get a healthy amount of current carrying ability out of the product because you're jumping up in size. Now, the unique thing about us here is that all of our aluminum is compact. So that means you get the very small footprint. You don't have any of the little interstices in there. And so it doesn't fill the raceway up the same it would be if it's a concentric strand where all the strands are round and you get these little gaps that takes up volume, right? So again, only we produce compact when it comes to our aluminum, okay? So again, if you ever need help with raceway fill, you ever need help with anything that has to do with our products, whether it's a vertical application, horizontal application, when copper or aluminum might be preferred, then reach out to us. Again, all you got to do is contact us, and we're more than happy to, codes@encorewire.com. I'll answer any question that you might have on the product, okay? A lot of people ask us about using oxide inhibitors like Nolox. Not required, and we don't require it. We recommend it on our aluminum, but to be honest with you, we recommend it on the copper as well. Oxidation can be detrimental to all applications. Now, the good news is, a lot of times people say the oxidation doesn't start immediately when it's exposed, and that is true. However, we recommend you do not strip the insulation off that conductor until you're ready to terminate. So you leave the insulation all the way up to the cut end. We don't worry about the cut end. You leave it on there until it's time to terminate, right? Because we use compact, there's not a lot of oxygen you're going to get in there. Now, the moment you're ready to terminate, then you strip it off. Then you terminate it, okay? If you want to use oxide inhibitor on it, great. If you don't want to use on it, that's fine. As long as you torque it properly. Follow all the rules for torquing. We don't give you that. That's going to be on the lugs you're using or the manufacturer's equipment. But follow those rules. 486A and B of UL gives a guidance on that as well. It's also in the informative annex of the NEC. There's other guidance on torquing. But usually the manufacturers of the equipment and the lugs will give you those values. We really can't emphasize enough, follow the manufacturer's instructions. Over torquing damages the product. Under torquing does equally as much damage to it because it's not making good contact. And under a load, you could get an arc. And over time, the arc can build up heat and it can damage stuff. So torquing is critical. We endorse that. We want you to torque it properly. But as far as using the oxide inhibitors, that's totally up to you. And of course, here's our aluminum products. We have the same available product sheets for all of our aluminum products as well. It gives you all the information that you'll want about the products, from our MC cables to the individual single insulated conductors, everything down, right? So with that said, if you need to know in your area other applications of our products, then you can go over to the Encore Wire website. And on that website, you can get specific vertical marketing sheets as well. They're all available for download. It talks about what products we recommend for healthcare, what products we recommend for commercial installations, data centers, all those type of things. There's tons of literature for you to download. Everything's available there. You can go onto our website and you can use our calculators, our raceway fill calc, our voltage drop calc, our ampacity calculator. And at any time you have any questions on any of that, all you got to do is reach out to us here at Encore Wire. The email address is right there on the screen, codes@encorewire.com, and we're more than happy to answer any question you might have on our products, okay? So anyway, I believe that is getting to the end. And of course, we have our own lab that does all our own in-house testing, quality control, and everything like that. So there you go. All right, so let's get it back to me. So this is just a test stream, but I wanted to bring you something in the test stream, telling you a little bit about Encore Wire products. There's the web. Where's it at? Right there, the website. Check us out. Look at our products. If you have any questions on wire and cable, feel free to reach out to us. We're more than happy to help you. But other than that, that's all I got for you, folks. So thanks for joining me, those that did. And I see we have some people that used to work here at Encore Wire. Okay. Yeah, so we have a lot of people here at Encore Wire. I mean, we're talking probably now, it's probably over 1,600 people. Probably the second largest employer here in McKinney, Texas area. And again, it's a great place to work. If you're interested and you're around the area, come on, get our HR, and I'm more than happy. Tell them Paul sent you. And but other than that, that's all I've got. Till next time, folks, stay safe. God bless.